Welcome, curious minds, to the Deep Dive. Today we're embarking on, well, quite an ambitious journey, I think, into two literary titans, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus, and Schiller's The Ghost Seer.
That's right. Both really plunge us into the intricate depths of human nature, don't they? Challenging our perceptions.
They absolutely do, but through remarkably different lenses.
Indeed. While Shelley's masterpiece grapples with, the outer limits of scientific ambition and the chilling consequences of creation, Schiller's novella unravels the subtle, often insidious mechanisms of human deception.
Right, and credulity and the manipulation of belief.
Exactly. Our mission today is to uncover the surprising nuggets of insight these stories offer. Not just about what drives us, but maybe what haunts us, too. And how we, even centuries later, grapple with the profound questions they raise.
Questions about truth, responsibility, the unknown.
All that.
So, what's our trajectory for this deep dive? We're going to unpack these narratives, really dissect their core themes, analyze their compelling characters, and explore the enduring relevance of their philosophical and ethical debates.
So prepare for a journey, maybe through icy wastes and dimly lit chambers.
Yeah.
Where the line between creator and creation and reality and illusion, it just sort of blurs.
We'll be connecting the dots, between these profound philosophical debates and the very real human experiences within these pages.
Okay, let's unpack this.
All right, part one, Frankenstein. Our journey begins not actually with Victor Frankenstein himself, but with the fascinating genesis of Mary Shelley's novel.
Yeah, how it came about.
Right. It wasn't born from a single mystical bolt of inspiration, was it? It was more like a challenge, almost a torment of daily expectation. Shelley herself talks about the misery of authorship she experienced back in the summer of 1816. She endured that relentless, dreaded question, have you thought of a story?
Oh, I can imagine the pressure.
And her mortifying inability to say anything but no. It paints this picture, not of a muse striking, but of a young creator really grappling with the act of invention itself, under pressure. And she makes this crucial point, also a philosophical one, about the process. She states plainly that invention does not consist in creating out of nothing.
That's really interesting. It suggests that even the most fantastic or seemingly new ideas, they have roots, right?
Exactly. Drawing from a bedrock of existing knowledge or observations. Like, she uses this analogy, the ancient Hindus' idea of the world resting on an elephant.
Which rests on a tortoise.
Right. There's always a foundational layer, a prior truth or belief that sparks the new thought.
It's truly fascinating, isn't it, how practical scientific discussions, even those based on rumor or, early understanding, could ignite such a profound and enduring narrative. Shelley sets the scene so vividly. That summer of 1816 in Geneva, she remembers it as cold and rainy.
The year without a summer.
Exactly. And this bad weather forced the literary group herself, Percy Shelley, Lord Byron, indoors. So evenings were spent crowded around a blazing wood fire.
Sounds quite atmospheric.
Doesn't it? And during one of these intimate, intellectually charged gatherings, the conversation turned to the nature of the principle of life. Whether there was any probability of it ever being discovered and communicated.
Wow. Heavy stuff for a fireside chat.
Right. And this wasn't just abstract philosophy. It directly touched upon the experiments of Dr. Darwin.
Okay, so we need to be careful here. This isn't Charles Darwin.
No, this is Erasmus Darwin, Charles's grandfather.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily about what he actually did scientifically. It's more about the rumors, the popular scientific discussions of the time.
Like what?
Well, like his reputed ability to preserve a piece of vermicelli in a glass case.
Yeah.
Somehow hinting at the possibility of communicating life to inanimate matter.
Huh. So these whispered scientific possibilities, they were the conceptual tinder for her imagination.
Precisely. And what's equally compelling is Shelley's own clarification about her authorial intent. She states explicitly that the opinions expressed by her hero, Victor, are not necessarily her own convictions.
Yeah, it's important.
Very. Her chief concern, she explains, has been limited to the avoiding the enervating effects of the novels of the present day.
So a critique of contemporary fiction.
Kinda, yeah. And also to the exhibition of the amiableness of domestic affection and the excellence of universal virtue.
Okay, so this raises a critical point then. While Frankenstein is definitely a cautionary tale about unchecked scientific ambition, Shelley's deeper objective might have been more moral. To critique the superficiality, the moral laxity she saw in contemporary fiction, and instead champion core human values.
Like empathy, family, virtue. She wasn't just telling a scary story. She was subtly, but powerfully, advocating for a particular moral sensibility in an era that was rapidly grappling with these new scientific horizons.
What a potent foundation for a story that is, at its heart, a Gothic warning. But the narrative doesn't even begin with Victor Frankenstein, does it?
No, that's right. It starts with Captain Robert Walton.
A character driven by his own boundless, almost reckless ambition. It's uncanny how much he mirrors the man he rescues from the Arctic wastes.
It really is. Walton's quest isn't about creating life like Victor's, but about discovering new frontiers, pushing the boundaries of human exploration and knowledge.
He yearns for a country of eternal light, wants to discover the wondrous power which attracts the needle,
A magnetic pole, yeah.
and regulate celestial observations, pushing the limits of scientific cartography. He dreams of being the first to tread a land never before imprinted by the foot of man.
And sees these goals as enticements sufficient to conquer all fear of danger or death.
He's completely consumed by the idea of glory, isn't he? Almost to the point of self-destruction. His hubris really sets the stage perfectly for Victor's own tragic tale.
And Walton's narrative, which is presented as these letters to his sister, Margaret Seville.
Right, the frame narrative.
Exactly. It forms this crucial frame for Victor's story, this letter format, the epistolary style. It lends this air of personal confession, direct address. It pulls you, the reader, into a sense of intimacy, immediacy.
And we learn about Walton's background, too.
We do. His education was neglected. But he compensated by being passionately fond of reading all the history of voyages made for purposes of discovery he could find in his uncle's library.
He wanted a seafaring life originally.
Yeah, but his father forbade it. So then he found solace in poets whose effusions entranced my soul. Now, at 28, he shifted back to maritime exploration, but he paradoxically considers himself more illiterate than many schoolboys of 15.
Maybe reflecting his self-taught journey. That mix of ambition, self-awareness, a certain intellectual rawness.
It makes him uniquely receptive to Victor's story, I think. And Walton also expresses this profound desire of finding a friend, this thirst for a more intimate sympathy with a fellow mind.
He believes a man has little happiness who did not enjoy this blessing.
Exactly.
Oh.
Emphasizing that core human need for connection, which becomes tragically ironic in both his own story and Victor's. So when Walton encounters Victor, this emaciated stranger, he recognizes a kindred spirit. And Victor himself directly notes, "You seek for knowledge and wisdom, as I once did."
A stark, immediate warning.
Absolutely. This narrative layering, filtered through Walton's journal, it's key. What's fascinating here is how Walton's own isolation and ambition, his self-imposed exile chasing glory, parallels Victor's. It sets the stage for Victor's cautionary tale to really resonate.
It's like a chilling mirror.
Yeah, reflecting the dangers of their shared pursuit of the extraordinary, the potentially destructive nature of unchecked curiosity. Walton's presence allows Shelley not just to tell a story, but to provide a kind of moral compass.
Through Walton's eventual decision to turn back.
Exactly. He actually heeds Victor's tragic lessons, unlike Victor himself.
Okay, let's turn to Victor Frankenstein himself. The character who, well, lends his name, if not his full persona, to the popular image of the story.
Right, the name everyone knows.
He is a man utterly consumed by what you can only really call a God complex, isn't he? And it directly leads to his tragic downfall.
From childhood, yeah. He was drawn to natural philosophy, initially captivated by these chimerical or fantastical works of ancient alchemists and mystics.
People like Cornelius Agrippa, Albertus Magnus, and Paracelsus.
Right. Figures whose theories often blended science with magic. They ignited his youthful imagination. But then, these early influences seemed despicable to him later.
After he saw the lightning storm.
Yes, and was introduced to real and practical science by M. Waldman, one of his university professors. But even with this shift to empirical science, he still attributes his eventual ruin to a fatal impulse linked back to those early, almost unguided studies.
Suggesting a kind of foundational flaw in his curiosity.
Perhaps. His progress, once he committed to chemistry and anatomy, was rapid. He became the astonishment of the students, earning heartfelt exultation from Waldman,
who praised how the ancients laid the foundations.
This early success, fueled by, frankly, intellectual arrogance, laid the groundwork for his ultimate overreach.
And his pursuit of life itself, or rather, the secret of animating lifeless matter. The descriptions are chilling.
They really are. He recounts spending days and nights in vaults and charnel houses, those grim places for the dead, meticulously examining the cause and progress of this decay.
Observing how the fine form of man was degraded and wasted, how the worm inherited the wonders of the eye and brain.
It's this gruesome, relentless work born of a morbid fascination with death and decomposition that paradoxically leads him to that sudden light, the profound and terrible discovery of bestowing animation upon lifeless matter.
And he immediately sees himself as completely unique.
Totally. Declaring with almost messianic fervor, I alone should be reserved to discover so astonishing a secret. The sheer audacity of his ambition is palpable.
He believes what had been the study and desire of the wisest men since the creation of the world was now within my grasp.
He views himself quite explicitly as a modern Prometheus, echoing the Greek myth, the titan who stole fire from the gods for humanity, only to be eternally punished.
Right. Victor, too, aspires to omnipotence and prophetically realizes he is chained in eternal hell as a direct result of his forbidden knowledge.
It's his Faustian bargain, isn't it? Unparalleled knowledge at the cost of his soul and humanity. A clear parallel to Goethe's Faust.
And the decision about the scale of his creation. Initially, he debated a being like myself or one of simpler organization, but his imagination was too much exalted.
Right. He couldn't doubt his ability to create something as complex and wonderful as man, but because of the minuteness of the parts, he resolved to make the being huge.
A gigantic stature, that is to say about 8 feet in height and proportionably large.
Which, just practically speaking, adds another layer of horror to the whole endeavor.
And the personal cost was truly immense, wasn't it? His ardor, his passion for this monstrous task was unremitting. It consumed his every waking moment.
His cheek had grown pale with study. His person had become emaciated with confinement. He confesses to having lost all soul or sensation but for this one pursuit.
Sacrificing feelings of affection, even for his family. He puts off thoughts of his father, his beloved Elizabeth.
Wishing to procrastinate all that related to my feelings of affection until the great object should be completed.
This single-minded devotion, this self-imposed exile from human connection and well-being, it's a crucial part of his tragedy. He sacrifices everything, showing how that unchecked ambition can just blind you to fundamental human needs.
And here's where it gets really interesting and frankly disturbing. Victor's story is such a profound exploration of scientific ethics, the moral responsibility of a creator. He himself, in this chilling echo of his own downfall, warns Walton, "Learn from me. How dangerous is the acquirement of knowledge."
And how much happier that man is who believes his native town to be the world than he who aspires to become greater than his nature will allow.
It's not just a warning, it's a direct commentary on the limits of science, the hubris of playing God. What is the moral obligation of a creator to their creation, especially when that creation is sentient and suffers because of neglect?
And we see Victor's tragic hubris immediately, don't we? His refusal to take responsibility right after the creature is animated.
Yes. His initial horror is purely aesthetic. It's driven by the creature's appearance, not by any deep ethical consideration of the life he's just brought into being.
He frames himself as the victim, not the perpetrator.
Exactly. Even when he admits later to being the assassin of those most innocent victims, William and Justine, his subsequent mental collapse, the nervous fever, they aren't just dramatic plot points.
No, they feel like physical manifestations of his guilt.
Profound guilt and self-deception. They show how that internal torment literally consumes him. His narcissism is so evident in how he rationalizes his abandonment and then his vengeance as somehow justifiable acts.
Blaming destiny, fate, the creature.
Never fully owning the consequences of his actions. It illustrates this profound lack of empathy, moral courage. This is Shelley's subtle but powerful critique, I think, of the Enlightenment's potential overreach, where reason without compassion can lead to profound cruelty.
But the true heart of the tragedy, and arguably the most compelling voice in the novel, it really unfolds through the eyes of his creation.
Absolutely.
A being who is startlingly far from the grunting, inarticulate beast often depicted in popular culture.
So far from it. Shelley masterfully gives us direct access to the creature's perspective, revealing this initial state of profound innocence, innate goodness.
He describes the original era of my being as confused and indistinct. A blur of initial sensations, light, hunger, thirst, almost like a newborn. His first conscious acts, like finding a cloak for warmth, observing the DeLacy family from afar, they reveal a natural benevolence. He's not inherently monstrous at all.
The creature's innate goodness, as you said, is absolutely striking. He recounts his early acts of kindness toward the DeLacys, clearing their path from snow, collecting food and fuel for them, performing these labors invisibly,
They even called him a good spirit wonderful, didn't they? Unaware of his presence.
highlighting his silent altruism. He was deeply moved by their poverty, their kindness to each other, especially when they placed food before the old man when they reserved none for themselves.
He felt depressed when they were unhappy, sympathized in their joys. It shows an inherent capacity for empathy.
Definitely. And he learned language by observing the family, calling their method of communicating, experience and feelings, by articulate sounds, a godlike science.
Through their conversations and books, he absorbed their history, even the discovery of the American hemisphere.
And wept with Safi over the hapless fate of its original inhabitants, showing this deep moral sensibility, this capacity for sorrow over injustice.
This whole section feels like a powerful argument for that noble savage idea, echoing Rousseau's Emile.
Exactly, where an uncorrupted being in nature is inherently good, only to be corrupted by society. The creature starts as this pure, unblemished slate.
This period of learning, though, it leads to this devastating self-awareness, this profound alienation.
Yeah, acquiring knowledge, which should be empowering, tragically makes him realize his profound difference from humanity.
He laments, "When I looked around, I saw and heard of none like me. Was I then a monster, a blot upon the earth, for which all men fled and whom all men disowned?"
It's heartbreaking.
He articulates his fundamental loneliness, crying out, "No father had watched my infant days. No mother had blessed me with smiles and caresses." He describes himself as an outcast in the world forever.
Utterly alone, rejected by his creator, rejected by humanity. It's Shelley's powerful critique of societal cruelty and the devastating impact of isolation right there.
And the turning point for the creature is just brutal.
It really is. His brave, desperate attempt to gain acceptance from the blind DeLacy Sr., the one person who couldn't be repulsed by his appearance, fails spectacularly when the others return.
Felix, Agatha, Safi. They react with immediate, overwhelming horror.
Driving him away with violence, cries of disgust, that moment just shatters his nascent goodness. It ignites this consuming rage that transforms him.
He unleashes that curse. Cursed creator, why did I live?
From that moment, I declared everlasting war against the species, and more than all, against him who had formed me.
It's such a crucial pivot, leading to his iconic, deeply poignant declaration. "I was benevolent and good. Misery made me a fiend."
Make me happy, and I shall again be virtuous. He even draws that powerful, tragic biblical parallel, seeing himself as the fallen angel whom thou drivest from joy for no misdeed.
An allusion to Satan in Milton's Paradise Lost.
Directly. He argues, with chilling logic, I am malicious because I am miserable, directly linking his malevolence to his profound suffering and rejection.
So his violence isn't inherent evil.
It seems not. It reads more like a desperate, almost childlike rage born of abandonment trauma, like an abused child lashing out, his ultimate demand for a female companion.
With whom I can live in the interchange of those sympathies necessary for my being.
He presents it as a right, not just a request, underscoring his desperate need for companionship, acceptance. This whole arc really explores that nature versus nurture debate, doesn't it?
Deeply. Suggesting that society's shaming and his creator's abandonment, rather than some inherent evil, actively corrupt him.
When he says, evil thenceforth became my good, it really compels us to ask, is he a product of free will, choosing evil in that moment of despair? Or is he a victim of determinism, doomed by his appearance and the trauma of rejection?
Maybe a living example of Jung's shadow archetype, Victor's own repressed monstrosity made flesh.
That's a very compelling reading, yeah.
And this profound theme of isolation, it isn't exclusive to the creature, is it? Victor himself experiences his own chilling, self-imposed alienation, driven by guilt and fear.
Absolutely. After Justine's unjust execution, an event he knows he's responsible for, Victor finds his home irksome, unbearable.
He often takes a boat onto the lake at night, consumed by despair, tempted to plunge into the silent lake that the waters might close over me and my calamities forever.
He explicitly says he feels separated from all it loved and miserable in the separation. It's a direct mirror to the creature's own plight, isn't it? Underscoring their intertwined fates.
Victor's guilt is so complicated by his denial and inaction. It's such a fundamental flaw.
It is. He acknowledges, in that moment of agonizing self-awareness, that he was not, indeed, but in effect, the true murderer of William and Justine. Yet he allows Justine to be condemned.
He rationalizes not confessing. Right. Believing it would just brand him a madman without saving her.
Prioritizing his own reputation his sanity or the appearance of it over an innocent life. It's tragic hubris manifesting as cowardice.
And the creature's revenge, the direct consequence of Victor's abandonment and his refusal to create a companion. It's systematic, heartbreaking.
Utterly. He targets Victor's loved ones with chilling precision. First, William, then Justine, indirectly by planting the locket. Then his dearest friend, Henry Clerval.
Found murdered near Victor's Landing right after he destroys the female creature.
Exactly. And finally, his beloved Elizabeth, whom he threatens for the wedding night and subsequently murders, just as promised.
The creature even confesses that after Clerval's death, seeing Victor's desire for happiness, impotent envy and bitter indignation filled me with an insatiable thirst for vengeance.
It transforms the creature into this literal agent of Victor's comeuppance, a living embodiment of his past sins. And that final, desperate chase.
It consumes Victor entirely. He devotes himself to the creature's destruction, this long, arduous pursuit across vast landscapes where revenge kept me alive.
And the irony is profound. The creature often leaves clues, even food, sustaining the chase, indicating this twisted, inescapable bond between them.
The doppelganger relationship, locked in a mutual, self-destructive dance.
The Gothic elements here really shine through, reflecting the turmoil. The pathetic fallacy is incredibly strong throughout. Victor's internal chaos externalized in the environment.
Raging storms during the creation.
The desolate, icy wastes mirroring the final chase. The landscape isn't just backdrop, it's like a conscious reflection of the moral chaos, the cosmic disapproval of Victor's hubris.
And the body horror is visceral.
Oh, absolutely. The initial yellow eye of the creature, the graveyard theft, the chilling image of Elizabeth's bloodless arms and relaxed form after her murder. It amplifies the terror, the visceral impact of Victor's actions, grounding the philosophical horror in physical revulsion.
Victor and the creature are just locked in this symbiotic, destructive relationship.
A dark mirror of creation and responsibility gone awry. Their fates are intertwined, a profound commentary on the inescapable consequences of unchecked ambition and the failure of compassion.
Okay, so from the tangible, if monstrous consequences of scientific ambition, we now shift gears completely.
Right.
And enter the shadowy, intricate world of Schiller's The Ghost Seer.
A very different kind of darkness.
This narrative plunges deep into how easily human perception can be deceived, manipulated. It's a story brimming with mystery, intrigue, and critically, carefully constructed illusions designed to prey on credulity.
What's truly fascinating here is the stark contrast with Frankenstein. While Victor's creation is concrete, monstrous, born from scientific hubris, The Ghost Seer explores a different human frailty.
Which is?
The inherent impulse to believe in the supernatural, even when you're confronted with logical explanations. It's not about what can be created, but about what can be made to appear real.
And more importantly, believed.
Exactly. It's a chilling study in how human cunning, sophisticated artifice, even a superficial grasp of science can evoke seemingly terrific agency, manipulating belief for calculated, often sinister ends. The prince's journey is key here.
From credulity to cynicism.
Precisely. From profound credulity to a cynical disbelief, which itself becomes a kind of vulnerability. It shows the dangers of an uncritical mind, whether it embraces or rejects too easily.
Our central figure is this young prince, described as having a noble mind, but simultaneously liable to mental weakness.
And easily influenced and commanded by the opinion of others.
Which makes him a perfect target for manipulation, almost preordained. The story immediately draws us into this web of intrigue. The prince and his companion, Count O, encounter a mysterious Armenian in Venice.
This enigmatic figure,
who chillingly predicts the death of the prince's cousin on a specific day and time. A prediction that, astonishingly, comes true with uncanny precision, down to the minute.
That astonishing accuracy instantly sets the stage, doesn't it? For the prince's growing belief in the extraordinary, the supernatural. It compels him to seek further explanation from those who seem to possess this uncanny knowledge.
Absolutely. This initial, seemingly supernatural event just hooks the prince completely.
So, driven by this experience and burning with impatience for an explanation, he confronts a magician, and in this moment of desperate credulity, he demands to see an apparition as undeniable proof of his art.
He challenges him directly.
And the magician rises to it with these elaborate deceptions that the narrative later meticulously unmasks, pulling back the curtain on the mechanics of illusion.
Like the first ghost.
Yeah, the figure of a man clothed in a bloody garment appearing on the wall. seemingly supernatural, but achieved by a cunningly placed magic lantern in the opposite window.
And the movement.
The figure seemed to move because the smoke, which received its light, moved in the air, creating this dynamic, lifelike illusion. And to enhance the realism, a Confederate man fell down in the chimney and spoke for the apparition,
Making the voice seem disembodied, otherworldly.
Crucially, the magician and the ghost had preconcerted inquiries and answers. Everything was scripted, every response a calculated manipulation of the prince's desperate desire to believe.
And the deceptions only grew more elaborate, didn't they? The second ghost is even more theatrical.
A testament to the conspirators' meticulous planning and understanding of human psychology. It involves the prince, Count O, Lord Seymour, holding two naked swords across over the magician's head.
Why?
To engage their attention, prevent them from looking where he didn't want them to. The pistols, fired by the Sicilian, who is the magician, contained a ball of quicksilver or clay, or were swapped for unloaded ones. Harmless, but terrifyingly real to the victims.
And the resemblance to the deceased friend.
Not necromancy. The juggler, the magician's accomplice, had observed a picture from a snuff box, demonstrating the keen observation and theatrical skill involved in manufacturing these apparitions.
The unmasking of these intricate deceptions by the magician, the Sicilian, is crucial then.
Absolutely. He calmly details his tricks, explaining how he exalted the human mind beyond its natural limits and induced the Marquis to credit the fables I taught him. He openly confesses, offering a masterclass in revealing the mechanics of illusion.
So the prince's journey, from credulous enthusiast to skeptic, and finally to a perfect free thinker. It's a key part of the novel's philosophical exploration.
It really is. This arc raises that profound question about human nature. Why are we often so eager to embrace the marvelous, even when presented with blatant trickery?
And the prince, after this elaborate deception, finds that the unmasking makes even truth suspicious to him.
Because he had unfortunately discovered the truth on very weak grounds. He becomes like an unexperienced man who has been deceived in love or friendship, and who drops all credit in these sensations.
So it suggests that someone whose belief is founded on such flimsy evidence is equally susceptible to rejecting all truth when that foundation crumbles.
It's a powerful warning, isn't it? Against blind credulity, but also against a cynical dismissal of everything once a single deception is revealed. It highlights the dangers of an unexamined mind. He loses the ability to discern nuance, swinging from one extreme to the other.
Beyond the prince, there's this complex and morally ambiguous cast of characters contributing to the scheme.
A whole web of manipulation.
The mysterious Armenian is central to that initial prophecy, seems to orchestrate much of the intrigue.
And he's later revealed to be an officer of the Inquisition, collecting information, playing a long, intricate game, far more strategic than just a simple magician. His presence introduces this layer of political, religious power into the machinations.
He's the hidden hand, pulling strings from the shadows.
Definitely. His ultimate purpose hints at a larger, more sinister plot. Then there's the Sicilian, the magician, the primary executor of the illusions, the showman behind the curtain.
He confesses his methods.
And reveals this disturbing past involving a marquis and a woman named Antonia, where he endeavored to overcome the scruples of the chevalier to call the ghost of Antonia's deceased lover, Geronimo. It shows his long history of manipulating people through staged supernatural events. A master of psychological warfare.
And Biondello, the prince's seemingly loyal servant.
Tragically revealed to be deeply complicit in the plot. He mistakenly exposes his unmasked face to Count O at a critical moment, hinting at the conspirators' arrogance, maybe, or the strain of the deception.
He provides sensitive information, makes the prince believe his own court wants to imprison him.
Eroding his trust in everyone. His haggard appearance, which he studiously seeks to hide, subtly hints at the moral and psychological toll of his involvement, a silent testament to the corrupting nature of his actions.
And the betrayal extends even further. Civitella, initially seen as a friend lending money.
Also deeply embedded, goes so far as to hire banditti to kill the prince at one point, highlights the terrifying depth of the betrayal, the prince's extreme vulnerability.
But what's intriguing is that even Civitella, a deceiver himself, experiences what he perceives as a real apparition.
Yes, a terrifying event that causes him to confess his role to the prince. It demonstrates how even those who manipulate belief can themselves be vulnerable to the genuinely inexplicable, or maybe just to their own manipulated perceptions and inner fears. A fascinating twist, blurring the line between external artifice and internal conviction.
And finally, Johnson, or Lord Seymour, Count O's companion.
The perceptive one, provides crucial insights into the deception, the prince's character. He'd been a tutor, excelled in mechanics, joined Count O to expose the plot. A voice of reason, scientific counter-explanation.
This plot is incredibly intricate, then.
A vast web designed to ensnare the prince, not just for amusement, but for deeper, often political reasons. It highlights how personal connections, vulnerabilities, the prince's credulity, his melancholy, his unhappy passion for Antonia are ruthlessly exploited.
And that shadowy society, Bucentoro.
Though appearing liberal, it actually encourages unbridled licentiousness of manners and opinions, even among clergy and cardinals. A deep critique of hypocrisy, moral decay within seemingly respectable institutions.
It's a stark illustration of how easily individuals can be entangled in invisible snares by those who disgrace human nature itself through their calculated machinations.
The narrative deliberately blurs the lines between the truly supernatural and cunning human artifice, forcing you, the reader, to constantly question what you believe, mirroring the prince's own journey into radical skepticism.
So the Ghost Seer isn't just about entertaining tricks and turns. It probes deeper questions about the fundamental nature of belief itself.
Exactly. The whole intricate plot relies on the boldness of the undertaking, the singularity of the means employed, and how truth, or the appearance of it, can be subtly woven with deceit and artifice to make the incredible seem undeniable.
The conspirators are masters of manipulating emotion, aren't they? Preying on the prince's melancholy, his unhappy passion for Antonia, using his emotional vulnerability as a lever.
Precisely. And the text explicitly discusses the very nature of belief and disbelief, asking provocatively what is belief and what is disbelief. Does not the Mahometan think that his belief is founded upon principle and authority and call the Christian an unbeliever, whilst the latter thinks the same of him?
That's a profound question, suggesting that belief depends merely upon conviction.
And that conviction, whether of the sacred or the profane, can be constructed on arbitrary, emotional, or even deceptive foundations. It's a powerful statement on the subjective, often fragile nature of human conviction.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, both Frankenstein and the Ghost Seer expose the perils of unchecked ambition.
Whether it's in scientific creation, like Victor's reckless pursuit of life, or in social and political manipulation, like the Armenians' machinations.
Both stories illustrate how easily individuals can be isolated. Victor by his guilt, the creature by society's rejection, the prince by the web of deceit.
They show how desperation can drive actions, be it the creature's vengeful wrath or the conspirators' calculated manipulations. Ultimately, these narratives compel us to consider the profound ethical dimensions of power, creation, and even belief itself.
Revealing that what we choose to accept as real and what we choose to create has far-reaching and often devastating consequences.
Definitely.
So what does this all mean for us, our curious listeners? From Victor's feverish pursuit of life and the tragic consequences of his abandonment, to the prince's bewilderment by staged apparitions and the chilling artifice of human deception. Both these deep dives reveal the intricate, often perilous dance between human ambition, vulnerability, and the profound, inescapable consequences of our actions.
Exactly. Shelley's Frankenstein serves as this enduring, almost prophetic warning about scientific hubris and our moral responsibility to what we create. It reminds us that playing God without empathy or accountability leads only to destruction.
A message that really resonates today, doesn't it? With CRISPR, AI, cloning debates.
Powerfully. Schiller's The Ghost Seer, on the other hand, reminds us of the seductive power of illusion and that inherent human tendency to seek out the marvelous, even when it leads us astray, makes us vulnerable to manipulation.
Both are powerful explorations of the complex, often contradictory nature of humanity, highlighting our capacity for both incredible ingenuity and, well, self-destructive blindness.
Yeah.
And perhaps the most compelling takeaway, cutting across both narratives, is how profoundly they emphasize the devastating impact of isolation and the desperate fundamental human need for connection.
Whether it's the creature's heart-wrenching lament, "I am an outcast in the world forever," or Walton's yearning thirst for a more intimate sympathy with a fellow mind.
Or even Victor's self-imposed, guilt-ridden solitude.
These texts underscore a universal human desire for someone to sympathize with and love me.
Indeed. This compels us to ask a crucial question for you, our listener. In a world where information can be so easily manipulated, where AI can create incredibly convincing deepfakes and technological advances constantly redefine the limits of science, what responsibilities do we as individuals have in rigorously discerning truth from illusion?
And perhaps even more critically, how do we actively foster genuine human connection in an increasingly digital and often isolating world, rather than inadvertently creating further, perhaps unseen forms of alienation for ourselves and others?
Food for thought indeed. Thank
Rupert?
you for joining us on this deep dive into these classic, ever-relevant works. We truly hope you'll continue to explore these fascinating ideas on your own, maybe even revisit the text with fresh eyes.
Until next time, keep asking the hard questions and keep seeking those profound insights.